What's up, guys? I'm going to do a quick review of the Panasonic TC-P42ST30. As you can see right here in the background, it's a 42-inch plasma 3D TV, 1080p, bunch of other acronyms that I'm sure I could say, but I won't. It's right here. It may not look 42 inches, but trust me, it's big. Everything in this MacBook camera is pretty small. Like, I'm actually fat in real life, if you can't tell. I'm actually joking about that. If I were fat, I would be depressed. But, yeah. And that's not a jab at fat people. I am perfectly fine with them. They're cool, and they're actually quite funny. Anyways, so it's 42 inch. It's got a black bezel around. Let me do it this way. Black bezel. Right on here. It's pretty simple black. It's got some indicators down at the bottom here. There's a red light to say that it's on somewhere around here. Right there, I think. It's got the Panasonic logo down at the middle at the bottom. It's got a nice sturdy stand. The actual bezel is just plain old black, piano glossy black. And my muscles are hurting from squatting, so I'm going to sit down instead. And yeah, so it's on my PS3 right now. There's my nice Skyrim theme. I'll get to the image later. Let me say a few more things about the physical features of the TV. This is not a anti-glare TV, but I've noticed, and this was just off of a whim. I wasn't looking for this, but I noticed that there is not that much glare compared to the bezel, which is glossy black, and obviously there's a lot of glare. But there's no lights behind the TV, so that might be part of the reason, but really, even from just my laptop, my laptop right now, where it's sitting at, there's a light that would give a glare, but it isn't there. Well, it is there, but it's not that bright, if you get what I mean. So that's pretty good. So now I'll go on to inputs. On the side, there is, let's see, let me get up to make sure I'm saying the right ones. So maybe you guys can hear me from back here. There is an SD card slot right here at the top. Here is 2 USB ports. My light's in the way. 2. The thing comes with a Wi-Fi dongle, which I'll get to later, and it also comes with this USB extender, which kind of extends this little pod that you can put on your, your stand for your entertainment stand, or in this case, my desk. And so I plug that into the other USB. So there's 2 on the side, and then there's one side HDMI input. Then on the back, there are 2 more HDMI inputs. There's 1 component input, 1 composite input, 1 Ethernet LAN input, a digital audio out input, or output, and antenna input, and the power. And that's it. And from my experience from researching TVs and such, this is actually severely lacking in some inputs. Noticeably, I would say it could use maybe 1 more component or composite, and maybe 1 more HDMI. And another thing that I really am disappointed that it doesn't have is a headphone jack. And the reason why I'm disappointed in that is my speaker system, it uses a 3.5mm headphone jack. And so I can't plug that into my TV, which kind of sucks. But those speakers really aren't that good anyways, so it's probably a good thing. They get distorted at high volumes. So, and the TV sound is pretty good, and I'll get to that later. Remote control. So we got a nice remote control here. Scoot up a little bit. So we got the power button right here. We got light. Nice red light. It's very good. It's good for seeing what's on the buttons, but the stuff that is like above the buttons, like these, you see these words? I can't read it backwards. This one says Link, I think, or no, Viera. Input, game, Viera, exit, those kinds of words that are on the black plastic. It's hard to read that when the light's on and you have no lights on in the room. When you just have the lights on the remote, you can't really see them. But you can see the words that are on these volume rockers and the buttons for the numbers, stuff like that. The layout's very good. You've got some very essential buttons up here. Not all of them are very essential. And this VR Link button, I have not used that at all. The game button is convenient, but that's only if you have a general game input. What it does is it switches directly to the game input that's labeled as game. Let's see, I have an Xbox and a PS3, so I actually separated them into a PS3 input and an Xbox input. And so this just goes to the general game input, which I don't have set as anything, so it doesn't go anything. It doesn't do anything. Input button, just goes to an input list, as you can see there, and I can switch, and so on. And there's the menu button, Cast, which is the internet apps, here are tools, which is just various tools to use, submenu, return. The return button is your friend just as much as the OK button is your friend. Channel volume, mute, format, info, and favorite, numbers, and then controls for videos and music, I guess. And so far I really like this remote. It's very cool looking. The back feels pretty good in your hand. Looks like that on the back, so it's kind of thin down here, but it's a pretty good remote. I like it. And these color buttons right here, they just do various on-screen menu items, and it'll tell you what they mean. So it's really not important, just on the remote itself. So initial setup. So if you go to initial setup, I'm doing this backwards, which is very hard to do. But it's a skill that I love telling my kids. I'm going to cheat. I think I may have skipped it. Oh, there it is. First time setup. First time setup is very, very easy to use. It asks you a bunch of questions about your environment. It does the channel setups and things like that, and so it's very easy to use, and so I appreciate that. I was able to do that without the manual, but the manual, which is this bad boy right here, is very, very useful. It's good for learning some menu items that you don't know, which happen to be a lot because this is my first TV, my first HD TV in my life. I've never owned one, my family's never owned one, and hopefully they will soon. So I had to get used to these new settings. It's getting very hot in here. It's 74 degrees. It's a little hot for a track jacket like this. Let's see, next thing, settings. Let's do this backwards. So we got a bunch of picture settings right here. The first one is, okay, first you got picture mode. So you got custom, cinema, game, vivid, and there's one other one. I don't want to switch it because it'll mess up my custom settings. I'm not real happy with how they do custom because it doesn't save across all viewing options or sources. So for example, I had to save the custom one for both my HDMI 1 input and my TV antenna input. So I had to do that twice. I actually done it like 3 times already. It's really annoying. But, after you do it once, you don't have to do it again. Unless you plan on changing them around. So first you got contrast, brightness, color, tint, sharpness, color temperature, cats, like lolcats, if you like lolcats. Not really, I don't know what it does. I'm just trying to make up Video noise reduction. They say to turn this stuff off, like all this noise reduction. They say to turn it off. It actually makes your image quality worse. And I kept this one on weak just because I don't necessarily believe them. And then you got some pro settings and a bunch of stuff that I have no clue what it does. Black extension is good for making it blacker. Gamma adjustment in case you need that. Panel brightness, I think the mid is pretty good. High is actually no higher than mid. But if you put on low, then it might be a little uncomfortable to view. Plasmas are normally a little bit darker than other TVs, but if you have it on mid, it should be comparable to other TVs. Contour emphasis, that can be off or on, really whatever you want. AGC, I have no clue what that does. And then you can save it as default. That's what I've done, and that's what you should do once you have done all this crap. And I'm going back, and I'm going to go to Advanced Picture. And this is where I fixed the lag, kind of. So mosquito noise reduction is just more noise reduction stuff. I want to say more. Speaking Spanish here. Motion smoother, that's where the simulated frames are. So the 600 Hertz is achieved by the motion smoother. And it creates a smooth movement effect. It looks kind of weird when it's like slow movement, like in a TV show, but when it's in sports, it looks very good. And so I suggest turning it on for sports and turning it off for normal TV viewing and video games especially. And then black level, you can change that. I mean, it's just like the other black one, whatever, just make it work. And then that's it. And so I think it's very expensive. Apparently there's more on the step up. There's a THX setting. Don't really know what it does, but whatever. Okay, so now we're going to back out of the settings, and we're going to talk about some image, how the TV looks. So if you're looking at a PS3 theme right now, it's a Bethesda Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim theme. It's a custom one that I downloaded off the internet, and it's very dark. It's a very black theme, and the edges of the theme are very close to black. And the reason I'm showing this off is, even though you may not be able to tell, I don't think you can from the video, the blacks are very, very good on this TV. If you could take the reflection of the bezel off, because there's like if you see right here, there's a small reflection of light on the bezel, and that happens around the whole TV and any TV. It's not just this one. It creates the depth of the bezel. You can tell that there's a bezel because of that reflection. If you were able to take that off and do one of those monolithic screens that Sony does, then this would look very, very black to you. And I'm sorry if I'm offending the blacks, but they are cool, just like this TV. Black people are awesome, don't hate. So the blacks are great. Colors are pretty good. You can change the color setting to make it more colorful if you want. Apparently color accuracy is something to look at. It looks accurate to me, so it's pretty good. The dimness of the screen, like I said, that's adjustable, and recommend keeping it on mid, but it's pretty good. So apparently if you have windows behind, I have a window right here, and it's got a nice little cover thing, so you can't, there's no light coming this way, my hand, this way, 3D right here. There's no light coming out that way, but they're talking about windows being like right here on this wall and coming this way towards the TV. That would create a reflection that would be undesirable for normal viewing. So I suggest making sure your TV is placed so that's minimalized. Minimalized is not a word. Sounds like something George Bush would say. Anyways, viewing angle. If let me see. Should I show you guys the viewing angle? Yes, I should. I feel like this isn't done enough in other videos, so I will do it. So now we're gonna take this bad boy right here and put it at a very wide viewing angle, about like 175 degrees or so, and you're gonna notice you can still see the picture. It's not gonna be a very big picture because it's gonna be an angle, but it will be viewable. So we're moving closer to an angle. So you can still see the cross media bar on the PS3. You can still see it. It's still there. Right there. That's about the last point you can see it. That is like 178 degrees. And then this is like 180 right here. And that's how thin it is, in case you were wondering. It's a very thin TV. But obviously the LEDs are thinner. Let's see. That's about where I had it. So that's really good. I really like the viewing angle. It's really fun to look at it and just say, wow, that's really thin. And really awesome. So let's keep going. Okay, TV and games. How do they look in general? So TV, at my dorm here, we only have about 5 HD channels. I should have sat down from the get-go. We have about 5 HD channels, and it's NBC, so local digital channels. And it's a normal coaxial, right here, coaxial cable. And those look pretty good. There's still some, snowy artifacting, but I don't think that's the TV. That's really just the source's problem. I'm sure if I had like an HD satellite receiver and I had a bunch of HD channels like ESPN and all sorts of stuff like that, I'm sure it would be phenomenal looking. But it's really good on the HD channels. And the standard definition channels, it really varies from channel to channel. It really depends on the compression that each channel uses. And so I can't really comment on that. I don't know if they have some upscaling that's supposed to be going on. I really cannot tell. Obviously it looks worse than on standard definition TV, but that's all HD TVs. So that's really not the TV's fault. And then games like PS3 games such as Battlefield 3 look great, look very good. There's a reflection of the computer screen that you can see. So it's not completely anti-glare, but it's pretty good. So we're going to start it up, let it synchronize my trophies. And it does seem like this is going to be a long video, but hopefully you guys won't get mad at me. It's loading. It probably doesn't look that good on the video, but trust me, it's pretty good. So we got the starting sequence coming up. You can probably hear that, I'll mute it. Battlefield 3, let's go to the menus. Let's start. And so all the menus and all that stuff looks really crisp and really good. Coming from a standard definition TV, to me it looks phenomenal. I absolutely love it. This is the reason I got this TV, because not just this TV, but an HD TV, because I was sick and tired of being 480i or whatever. And so this is 720p. And even then, it's not 720; it's a little bit less. But even at 720p, it looks great, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So we got multiplayer campaigning, all that stuff. I think it may take too long if I start playing, but trust me, it looks great. Yeah, that's all I can say is trust me.